Hello, you're tuning in to AWANI Review with me, Cynthia Ng. Joining me on the show today is Fabian Fu. He is the founder of Matchmate, a Singapore-based matchmaking platform, but not just any kind of matchmaking. Matchmate have just recently announced that they are launching the first biocompatibility relationship matching service in Southeast Asia, and it is called the Gene Match. It's great to have you on the show, Fabian. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Cynthia.
I would like to start by talking about Gene Match, this new biocompatibility service on your platform. What is Gene Match, and how would this change the way we can find potential partners using a matchmaking service or an app?
Gene Match is actually one of our rollouts at Matchmate in our goal to actually help our users to actually find a deeper connection in their search for their soulmate. So we do believe that some research has been done, right? That actually 40% of matches actually are compatible via genetic matches. Yes. So what we want to do is at Matchmate, we wanted to partner with a very reliable company like MGRC to actually roll this out offering to actually everyone, so that everyone can actually have this offering to be made available to them. Once genetic were used to be something very far sought out there, right? Nobody can actually have access to genetic matching, right? But at Matchmate, we want to make it affordable for our users and give them access to this.
I know of algorithms, AI-driven algorithms on matchmaking platforms that memorize user behavior and tailor a list of people with similar interests to match your compatibility, something like how we do when we shop online. But now this goes a step further. How does the program determine DNA compatibility among users?
Okay, so there's basically four traits that determine a person's compatibility in our genetic match algorithm. Yes, and so one is the degree of natural attraction. Second is sexual responsiveness. Third is wish for children, and fourth is partnership satisfaction. So what we measure in the genetic match, right, is that we measure the markers for these four traits in every individual, right? So what we do is we will then see whether this genetic traits, right, will be similar or dissimilar. The more different the genetic results are between two individuals, the better the compatibility. Yeah. So, but when two people's these four genetic traits are actually too similar, on the contrary, the biocompatibility actually is poor.
Okay. So how does it work for a user? I log onto the platform, I sign up for the service. What do I do then? Do I send a DNA test or saliva to your company? And what is the process that happens in the lab when you determine the compatibility of DNA?
So what we at Matchmate, right? We aim to become the next Netflix of matchmaking. So when a user comes in on board, right, instead of having to search left and right, swiping left and swiping right, very common in what you see in other apps, right? They'll be shown profiles that is compatible, suitable for them. Yes, via a list of profiles, via a list of questions that they answered. So this matches, right, actually on a level that actually show the psychological compatibility of the users to them. If a user wants to take this a level deeper and wants to find out whether they are genetically compatible to this other user, what they can do is they can actually opt, right, to actually to tell Matchmate to say, hey, I want to take this to a deeper level. I would like to have my DNA analyzed. And with my DNA analyzed, after the DNA, Matchmate will then send a saliva kit to the user. The
Right.
user need only to deposit their saliva, and then we will send it for processing. Within a time frame, we will then send them back with the results. Yeah. So once they have the results in the Matchmate app, right? It'll be permanently stored in the system, and they will be able to then view other users who have actually taken the same kind of genetic testing, and they will be able to see whether the users are actually compatible to them genetically.
I'm sure this comes up a lot in terms of privacy because
Mm.
we're talking about DNAs and
Yes.
personal, right? So
Yep.
what is Matchmate doing in that regard to protect the
Okay.
privacy of your users?
So when you take a genetic test, right, the results are only visible to only you yourself. So Matchmate has made it very clear to actually ask users for their permission if they wish to release their results to somebody else who wants to see their genetic match. So at any point in time, they will be able to decide whether they want to allow other users to see their genetic match. They can switch this off anytime also as well, visibility of the matches.
Right. Thank you for that explanation, Fabian. The romantic in me, I like to think that the best matches or partner matches are a result of serendipitous encounters, but we know that that's not often the case, especially with dating apps where you give maybe about 5 full seconds of thought before swiping this person away. Which leads to my next question is, does genetic compatibility increases the likelihood of successful relationships among couples? Have you done any tests which shows that kind of result?
Okay, so genetic compatibility, right, actually surfaces information which users would not normally be able to know. Yeah, so most users on the surface, they will only be able to see how the person looks like, how he behaves, what he creates inside the profile, right? So what we are trying to do at in the Gene Match is we're trying to provide user with more information such that they will be able to make a more informed choice before they do select whether to further engage with another profile or not. Love, like you mentioned, love is actually a very complicated matter, right? It both consists of both a science and the art, right? So what we do at Matchmate and the genetic match, right? What we're trying to do is we're trying to provide user with as much scientific information as possible for these users, then to make a better, clearer decision in whether they want to choose a partner or not. Of course, we all know that in a successful relationship, it takes a lot of hard work, right, to actually carry it through. So we want to give the users a leg up in this journey, yeah, so that it's easier for them to have a higher chance of success in the relationship.
So you're perfecting the science
Yes, correct,
of matching.
correct.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
I know that there are various online dating platforms, apps out there, and even the traditional matchmaking services.
Yeah.
Is Matchmate competing in the same segment?
Actually, Matchmate is actually uh open for anyone who is actually looking for a serious partner, yeah, a serious partner and soulmate. So we have actually found out that users these days, right, they were very tired of the mid market concept, yeah, of finding very superficial information out there in the market and having to spend a lot of time just trying to ascertain whether a user is even real or not, and whether the user is compatible or not. So these are actually by chance. A user actually doesn't even know until he actually gets on together on a date with them. Yeah. So what we do at Matchmate, we're letting our audience know, right? Is that, hey, just come to us. We will provide you as much information that you normally wouldn't be able to tell in by yourself. And with this information, it will give you a lot of more information for you to make, like I said, a better choice in you selecting your partner, and that's what we aim to do. So actually, the audience is for everyone. Yeah, is for everyone.
Now, I imagine that for you, the company or the platform to yield better possible matches, you need a larger depository of genetic samples or DNA samples.
Yeah.
How is Matchmate planning to do that? Because this is a rather new idea. I know that there are some companies in Europe already doing this, but in Asia, there's also a bit of a cultural element that goes into play. So how are you planning to promote and get people on board?
Yeah. So what we want to do is we have actually done our some calculations. The back end, we've decided to actually introduce their users, because we do know that we want to users to actually enjoy this offering as much as possible. So for a limited period. For a very limited period, right? Matchmake has decided to actually lower the entry price for this until the users, enough users has been formed and they can find a proper match. Yeah. So this is what we are going to do for users. We're going to talk about getting users to have a high price for them to enter. We want to lower it as low as possible, even as close to cost price as possible. Yeah. So yeah, that's what we want to do for our users.
Share the price for Malaysian users.
Malaysian users actually right now, the Malaysian users, right, will be able to enjoy it for a price for introductory price of only $199.
Very interesting, first of all, to have met you, Fabian, because my first time hearing about Matchmate. Just give us a background here. You know, what got you into the matchmaking business?
Oh, that's a question that a lot of people ask me, right? Um, what I was previously in the banking for I think almost a decade, right? In almost a decade, right? And I got married at a pretty late age, right? I myself has been through many many failed relationships previously when I was younger, And as an Asian, I do realize that there is a very big problem that me and my circle of friends all face, right? And we find it very difficult to actually find somebody to settle down or to find somebody who's really compatible. It was mostly random in nature in us trying to just get to know somebody and hopefully we were always trying. Hopefully it works out. Yeah. So I didn't want this experience to be there for other people. Yeah. I mean. Fortunately for me and my friends, we found the love of our life and got married happily, right? But that was not after we went through many failed relationships in the past, right? So what I wanted to do is I wanted to bring forth this solution to other users to tell them to say that hey, instead of you having to go through what I've been through of randomly going through a relationship and then learning the hard way what you should or shouldn't find in a partner, right? Why not I create a solution and let other people have this solution? So that's why the idea of Matchmate was born. And you know, in Asia, right? This in Asia, we were all we the culture of Asia is we are all very shy. We are not open enough to go up to the bar to go and say hi to somebody, right? So the concept of having an artificial matchmaker, which is why Matchmate has this artificial matchmaker called, namely aptly named Myla, right? So Myla is an artificial matchmaker inside the app that helps the user in the journey in finding the right one, and that's how the idea was born.
Very interesting.
Mm.
Just one final question, Fabian, before I let you go. What are some of the developments that we can look forward to from Matchmate, and perhaps maybe their plans to ramp up your presence in Malaysia? Talk to us about what can we look forward to.
I think the genetic match is only the first of many technical rollouts that Matchmake wishes to bring, make it affordable for these users. We do have many plans in terms of you know, everybody has this talk about uh, virtual reality, you know, the metaverse and everything, right? So that is something definitely we do wish to take forth in our roadmap, in to be part of the roadmap, because as you know, this pandemic rolls out, right? Rolls out where people have less and less opportunity to actually meet somebody face to face. Matchmate is actually very conscious of this, and we want to make it easier for users to actually engage each other. So definitely something in that space. I would say is something what we are looking for, to create an environment where users want to make it easier for them to communicate and engage with each other.
All right, that's very exciting. Best of luck with that, and
Thank you.
hope we can have a chat again sometime near future, maybe perhaps in person even.
Yeah, thanks very much, Cynthia.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much.
having me. Bye.
Welcome back to our one-year review. Earlier, we have heard from Fabian Fu, CEO of Matchmate, that is rolling out the first matchmaking biocompatibility matching service in Southeast Asia in collaboration with Malaysian Genomics Resource Centre Berhad, or MGRC. And joining me right now is Dr. Eunice Poi, Head of Medical Affairs at MGRC. Thank you so much, Dr. Eunice, for making time to speak with me.
Thanks, Cynthia. Glad to be talking to you about this.
Yes, it's a very interesting. Earlier, Fabian, of course, talked more about the app and why they started to roll out this matchmaking service based on DNA. With you, I would like to get a deeper understanding about the science behind biocompatibility and matchmaking. How much does genetics or DNA play on human attraction? If you can walk us through.
Yep, sure. So since a long time ago, we all know that genetic markers do play a role in how a species procreate and also for survival of the species, if we may say. So this is very well known in the animal and plants kingdom, But for humans, however, all this while people have been using genetics to look for certain diseases or traits. But in 1995, an interesting study was done by a Swiss researcher called the Sweaty T-shirt study. And that in that study, it was shown that there is also evidence that genetic markers do influence human attraction or compatibility for that matter. Yeah, so it does play a role.
Can you talk to me a bit more about the sweaty t-shirt experiment? I read about it.
Yeah.
It's basically DNA, the idea of DNA-based attraction, and it does suggest that people with differing DNA markers were more genetically compatible. How does that work?
Okay, so in this study, the scientists looked at the genes that play a major role in the immune system's ability to fight infection. So what they're looking at is the what we call the major histocompatibility complex, MHC, or also known as a human leukocyte antigen, HLA complex. So this is the same complex that people look at when we're, or doctors look at when we're doing transplants. But the difference is in transplants, you want to look for people with very similar MHC or HLA complex so that the recipients don't reject the donor organ. In terms of attraction and compatibility, what the scientists found is that people who are having very dissimilar MHC complex are more attracted or compatible to each other.
Now, of course, these days it has become way harder to sniff a T-shirt and try to find a soulmate.
Yes.
So let's talk about this gene match that has been developed by MGRC and Matchmate to matchmake people, basically. How can you forecast romantic chemistry between people using DNA markers? Can you help us understand that process? No, I'm swiping for their profiles and photos, but what's next then? I mean, how does biology and DNA go into this matchmaking service?
Right. So for this, when we're talking about the MHC and the HLA complex, so what we're trying to do is just to look at one part of the puzzle in terms of attraction and compatibility, whereby it's just one small piece of information to help people to make the decision or to see whether they're compatible with someone. So when we talk about it scientifically, the compatibility in terms of the MHC is also in terms of what we call what we spoke about just now about the procreation and the link to survival of the species. Basically, why this happens is because naturally we want to prevent interbreeding among species and maintain the genetic diversity. So similarly, in humans, we always try to prevent, consanguineous marriages where the children or the offspring can have very serious medical consequences. So in that sense, what we are trying to do is just a very small piece of the puzzle. We won't really say that it is genetics is all when it comes to attraction or romantic relationships. Of course, there are other things like the person's attitude or cultural differences or even physical appearances. But all these things, we have to, some people find out all this through the hard way. But for us, if they do go through the gene match, at least we can tell them genetically, just one piece of information genetically, whether you are compatible or not. Yeah.
Right.
I hope that answers your question.
Yes, that's certainly very interesting. I understand, of course, there is so many factors in play when
Yes.
When it comes to choosing a lifetime partner or romantic partner in that sense. Based on your research, right, has DNA matchmaking been proven to be able to increase the likelihood of a enduring or successful relationship or even higher fertility rates among couples based on your research?
So since 1995, there has been a lot of excitement in terms of this. And actually, previously, genetic screening or genetic profiles have always looked at more towards diseases or traits, but nothing quite as interesting as matchmaking. So even since then, there are not much data coming out in terms of this. We can see different studies that have been done that does say that how genetic markers or their genetic profiles affect the procreation and the survival of the species. So in terms of like for humans, if we have very dissimilar MHC complex, that links to adaptability or compatibility, but at the same time, it also helps in terms of diversity of our the genetic markers. So in that sense, if it's not consanguineous, we can really say that we have a better chance of getting healthier offspring, healthier children, and also better fertility rates.
Has this been rolled out yet in Southeast Asia? Have you used lab?
No, it hasn't. From what we know, Matchmate is the first to take this up and to roll it out in Southeast Asia. Yeah.
Can we talk about your role in this? MGRC, of course, is a leading researcher when it comes to genomics. What's the other exciting developments that's happening in MGRC, and how did you guys pivot into matchmaking? Because this is not your.
Yeah. So as you know, MGRC, we have always been doing the more serious stuff, if you can say, diseases, traits, and even therapeutics using our genomics lab and also our cell lab. So it has been very exciting. We usually use genetic screening for diseases and for cancer therapy. But apart from that, we have another half or more of the population who are well. So what we want to do is to help people who are well prevent diseases. So that's why we are working towards providing people with genetic information that are useful for them to prevent themselves from getting into a disease state. For example, like our wellness, Detect Wellness, our nutrigenomics profile, we can screen for different types of vitamins and minerals, nutrients which may be deficient in a person's body. And then we can also guide them on what sort of diet changes or recommend supplements, etc., etc. So these are all very exciting, but at the same time, we also want to look into things that are a little bit out of the box, if you may say. So
Right.
things like this really interest us, and we are also getting some exciting inquiries from other companies. Like we've recently been approached by a company in Sabah that is interested to use genetic information for health, fitness, and sports performance. So those are really some of the more interesting things that are coming up. Of course, there are more in the pipeline. As we continue to improve. Yeah,
Well, the possibilities are endless. I believe,
exactly.
genetics and genomics science. I think what we're trying to encapsulate here really is, yes, this is traditional matchmaking with value add. You know, it gives you maybe perhaps a bit more certainty when it comes to potentially choosing your romantic partner.
Yeah.
Dr. Eunice, you have quite an interesting career. I mean, started off as a medical doctor, but now you are a researcher, head of medical affairs at a genomics institute. You know, what led you to that? If you can share your experience.
Sure. So like I mentioned just now, there is a very big part of the population that is well. So for us as medical doctors, we spend a lot of our time in medical school, and after that working, treating people who are not well, like people who have diseases. So a lot of our time and resources are spent on that, and it has been pretty interesting to step into the other half of this game per se, where we are looking at people who are well, and we are trying to prevent people from getting into the hospitals or needing chronic diseases. So what really interests me is to help with the prevention of diseases, not just to cure people when they are not well. So I'm also trying to stop people from going to the hospital, and yeah, so far has been a great ride.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Eunice. That is a wonderful story. And looking forward to more exciting developments from MGRC as well as yourself. Thank you so much for spending time to talk to me.
Thank you. No
a bit about
problem. Thank you so much.
me and as well as matchmaking. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Eunice, and have a great day.